Our small New England town was covered in a clean white coat of snow after it had snowed hard all night. As I stood by the frosty window with a hot mug of tea in my hands, I watched the early January light cast a soft glow over the streets. The quiet outside was soothing, almost holy, and it reminded me of how quiet some parts of my life have become since Paul left. My ex-husband Paul left, leaving my son Sam and me to make a new life together. Sam was only 4 years old when Paul left. It wasn't easy, but Sam and I made it. He became my rock and my biggest source of happiness. Sam was becoming his own person now that he was 21. I was thinking about how to stop thinking about my goals because they were too big for this small town. The sound of footsteps coming down the stairs woke me up. They were steady and sure, just like Sam felt about himself these days. He walked into the kitchen wearing pants and a knit jacket, and his camera was slung over his shoulder. He had the warmest smile on his face, even on a cold January morning. He said, "Good morning, Mom," and leaned in to kiss my face. It was a small sign of how much he'd grown that his beard had grown back. I answered, "Good morning, sweetheart. Where are you going so early?" "The lake," he said, all excited in his voice. "After it snows, the light is great, and I want to get a picture of it before it changes." The pride in my chest made me nod. Sam had always seen beauty in small things that other people might miss. This is why his pictures seem to tell stories instead of just showing moments. "Do you need someone to talk to?" To my own surprise, I asked. I usually let him work on his art on his own, but today I felt forced to join him. His eyes got really bright with happiness. "Really? Would you come with me?" I smiled and said, "Of course. I haven't seen the lake in a long time." We put on warm clothes to protect ourselves from the cold and set out. As we walked through the snow-covered streets, the cold air bit our skin. Even though the lake wasn't very far away, the walk made me think and feel calm. The sight when we got to the shore took my breath away. The pale sky and bare trees around the lake looked like a mirror. Frost stuck to the trees, making them shine like jewels in the early morning sun. Sam quickly set up his and angled it to get the best picture. It was drawn in by the intensity of his eyes and the way his hands moved with both skill and emotion. I saw echoes of Paul in those times. Not the man who broke up with us, but the dreamer I loved before. "Mom?" Sam's voice brought me back to the present. He looked at me with a small smile and a slight tilt of his head. "Are you okay?" I said as I brushed snow off my coat, just thinking. "I think of your dad when I see you work." I was surprised that when Paul was brought up, Sam didn't react badly. He didn't talk about him very often, but today his face got softer. "Do you miss him?" he asked. Before nodding, I thought about it. Not always the way you think. I long for the family we were meant to be and what we could have been, but I'm okay with how things turned out. It let me spend more time with you. When Sam looked at me, I didn't need to say anything for a moment. After moving closer, he put down his camera and gave me a warm hug. I could feel his warmth through my clothes, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly safe. He said in a low voice, "I'm glad it's just us. There's nothing I'd change about it." I felt tears in my eyes, but I quickly blinked them away. I said in a whisper, "Neither would I." While the sun was rising, we stayed by the lake until the snow and frost were gone. Sam caught everything. There was a sparkle of light on the ice, a soft wave in the water where the ice met the shore, and weak fox tracks going through the trees. I realized something very important as I watched him work. Sam was no longer just my kid. He was an adult and making his own plans, but I knew that the tie we had would always be there, no matter where. His dreams took him. I looked at him with a smile on my face as we walked home. "Sam?" He said, "Yeah. Make a promise. Anything. Always find beauty in the world. That's what we need more of." He smiled and his breath made little clouds in the cool air. "Mom, I won't. Promise." As we walked through the snow together, I felt something different. I felt like spring had quietly come into the world, like a warmth had grown inside me. "Do you know?" Sam started by giving me a sly smile and looking at me. "Now I understand why my pictures haven't been getting much attention lately." Sam spoke. Up in his tone was serious. I tilted my head in interest because of what he said all of a sudden. He stopped in his tracks, took the camera up, and pointed it right at me. The best subject for me has always been in front of me. He went on with a smile. As I laughed, I brushed off the snow that was stuck to my coat. Do you mean me? Not really, Sam. I'm not really what you'd call attractive. He didn't answer right away. He took a picture instead before I could say anything. He finally told her, "That's where you're wrong. You are this beautiful person. It's not about having perfect skin. It's about getting to the heart of someone. What about you? You are amazing." It wasn't the cold that made my cheeks turn red. It was what he said. "You know that you can use words, well, right?" I answered, trying not to sound upset. He gave a joking smile. He joked that it was part of the beauty. The joking didn't end there. As we walked back to his house, he kept taking pictures and making fun of things by saying silly things and telling me jokes that only the two of us knew. Once we got to the house, I was so happy that my face hurt, but it hurt in the best way. As we walked in, his boots hit the wooden floor. "I can't wait to show you these," he said. I teased, taking off my scarf and hanging it by the door. "I think you'll love them, but only if I get to approve the changes first." As he went upstairs, he gave me a funny look. "Don't be shocked if things go better than you think," he said again. As I worked to clean up, I couldn't help but laugh to myself. The love from our conversation was still there. As usual for Sam, he didn't come back down for the rest of the day. He got lost in his artistic world. Sometimes soft music and the clicking of his camera could be heard coming down from his room. It was clear that he was fully focused on what he was doing. The next morning, the smell of freshly made coffee woke me up. I stretched slowly because I didn't want to leave the comfort of my blankets for the cold January air. As I thought about staying in bed a little longer, the door opened with a squeak. Sam stood there with a box that had a hot mug of coffee, a muffin with a candle on top, and a small pot of flowers. He said, "Happy birthday, Mom," in a soft voice that was full of love. "Sam," I breathed. As I sat up and tried to hold back tears, my heart swelled with feeling. "You didn't need to do this." He put the tray on my lap and said, "Of course I did. You deserve it." He sat on the edge of the bed and watched me drink my coffee and blow out the light. It worked out just the way I liked it. Because it was meaningful, the act made the day feel special before it even began. The hours went by quickly as they were filled with smiles and quiet times. The house was as quiet as it always is by the time evening came around. The peace and quiet made me curl up on the couch with a book. I didn't hear Sam's steps going down the stairs until just before midnight. He walked into the living room carrying a sleek black box. His face was blank, but his eyes were bright with joy. He stood in front of me and said, "Mom, for your birthday, I have one more treat for you." I put down my book and smiled at him. "Sam, you've already done a lot today." "What is this?" he said. "Open it and see." But his tone was playful. I lifted the lid to see what was inside and saw layers of thin tissue paper. There was a beautiful set of black underwear inside, along with a satin robe that felt too soft to touch. At first, I didn't know what to say as I stared at it. "Sam," I began, but my voice was shaking. "This is lovely." He cut her off with a widening grin. "There's more. Put it on and go up." Believe me, I wasn't sure what to do about his request, so I waited, but the thrill in his voice was contagious. I got up the courage to say yes, and then I took the box to my room. Once I was dressed in the robe and underwear, I went up the stairs feeling nervous and excited at the same time. I was speechless as I pushed open his door. The room had a soft red glow from the lamps and the fabric that was wrapped over them. A smooth metal pole stood in the middle of the room. In the corner, a machine was making faint wisps of smoke. A sleek and classy black leather cat mask was sitting on a table nearby. He looked at me with the camera in his hand. He told her in a friendly, sincere voice, "You look great." He then gave me the mask and said, "Put this on. Things will look even better in the pictures." Even though I wasn't sure, his smile made me feel better. "Just for fun," he said in a soft voice. "You've always helped other people a lot. I'll do this for you." I took a deep breath, put on the mask, and walked into the red light. The room was filled with happy music and the beat got people moving. I felt weird at first, but Sam's praise and laughing quickly made me feel better. He carefully led me and captured moments that were both fun and inspiring. He lowered the camera for a moment and said, "You're a natural. You're so amazing. I don't think you know it, Being honest with me caught me off guard, and when I looked into his eyes through the red light, I felt something change. There was more to this than just parties and pictures. It was all about getting closer. I fully trusted him as the night went on, letting go of my fears to just enjoy the moment with the red glow and soft haze from the smoke machine. The beat of the music filled the room. I was filled with joy and found parts of myself I had forgotten about for a long time. Sam stopped and looked at me with a serious face. "I think you're amazing," he said. His voice had a note of respect in it. "All of your confidence has been hidden somewhere." I shook my head and laughed. "Hide it? Dear Sam, this is not at all like a normal Thursday night for me." Sam smiled and said, "You're talented and I think you're enjoying this more than you're letting on." I laughed at his jokey statement. Not everything he said was wrong. Letting myself be seen felt both freeing and vulnerable at the same time. Then a memory came back to me. It was something I hadn't thought about in years because of all the work and responsibilities I had. "Do you think this is cool?" I made fun of her by crossing my arms and giving her a naughty look. "You haven't seen anything yet?" Sam raised an eyelid and his face showed that he was interested. "Oh, what else do you want to hide?" I answered, taking off my satin robe to show the delicate underwear underneath. "I used to take heels classes," I said. "I can still remember a few moves." His eyes got really big in surprise, and he took a big step back while waving his camera around. "Now you need to show me." "So be it," I said in a fake serious voice. "Don't you dare laugh." There was a sense of excitement in the room as I moved toward the silver pole. It had been years since I did something like this, but muscles remember things. Getting off my shoes, I grabbed the pole and easily climbed it before arching smoothly into a spin. The fact that the movement felt smooth showed how many hours I had spent practicing my form. Sam stood still, and for a moment I forgot about his camera as I moved into a set of moves I forgot I still knew how to do. A cartwheel, a fireman's spin, and even a risky climb up the pole. As I went down, the soft red light bounced off the silver surface, and my steps were smooth and sure. When I finally hit the ground, I turned around and saw Sam clapping loudly with a real smile on his face. He walked over to me and said, "Mom, that was amazing. Why did I not know you could do that?" I shrugged, out of breath but thrilled. "That was a long time ago. I liked going to school before you were born. I had no idea I'd still have it." "Well, I'm officially impressed," he said, his voice getting softer as pride lit up his tone. "Wow, you look so beautiful." I was surprised by how sincere his speech sounded. He moved in closer and kissed my cheek. The warmth of his love lingered just long enough to reach me. "You really do look great tonight," he said, moving back to make room for me. "I really mean it." I didn't know what to say for a moment. The moment felt deep because of his smile and the sincere respect in his words. I said thank you and adjusted the robe around my shoulders. "Thanks a lot, Sam." I became aware of how quiet the house was as the music changed to a softer tune. The world outside of his room seemed far away and unimportant. We were the only ones in this place, and our bond was so strong that words couldn't describe it. Sam smiled as he picked up his camera again and held it up. "May I have one last shot?" "There's nothing fancy, just you and the pole." I was on the fence, but his look of encouragement made it hard for me to say no. I leaned lightly against the pole and let the robe fall over my shoulders. I looked into his eyes through the lens. When the flash went off, it caught a moment I would never forget. He lowered the camera and said, "Perfect. You're so good at it." I laughed and shook my head. "You're a great shooter, in my opinion." He took a step closer and his face softened. He said, "Maybe, but I think you're expecting too much from me." "Dear Mom, you've always been unique. I'm just lucky to see it." His words stopped me in my tracks. Even though we were just teasing each other, this moment felt deep, like we had found a part of our relationship again that had been waiting to come. Slowly, the evening came to an end and there was a nice quiet mood. After Sam finally put his camera away, I was out of breath from my spontaneous act and we laughed about it over a late-night cup of tea in the kitchen. It felt normal and easy, like the night had brought us closer. When I finally got into bed, my mind was full of feelings: sadness, happiness, pride, and something else I couldn't quite put my finger on. Sam had always been my everything and the reason I got through the hardest times in my life. But tonight he gave me something I didn't know I needed: a chance to live again. From tomorrow on, everything would be fine. But before I went to sleep, I thought about the red light, the laughing and the strong bond between a mother and her son. The house was less noisy in the morning than usual. As the hours went by, I started to wonder what Sam was doing since he hadn't come downstairs. He would normally be in the kitchen making coffee or messing around with his camera right now. Instead, there was a strange silence, like something had changed. I chose to go check on him because I was interested. As I went up the stairs, I stopped outside his door to listen. A low whisper and some soft movements made me hear the faint sound of his voice. I lightly knocked, but I didn't wait for someone to answer. "Sam?" As I opened the door, I called. I stopped in my tracks when I saw what I did. He was on his bed with his legs spread out and a camera in his hand. The screen had a dim glow and I knew right away what the pictures were. Pictures from the last night. The ones of me with the satin robe and the soft haze of smoke that were taken under the red light. When he heard my voice, he quickly turned around and put the camera off. His face turned red and he sat up quickly, trying to avoid looking at me. "Oh, Mom," he stuttered. "I didn't hear you knock." I went inside and shut the door behind me. I told Sam in a soft voice. It's okay to calm him down. "Why did you quickly turn it off?" "I can see." As he looked down at the barely above a whisper. "There you go, Staff." I gave him a soft smile and sat down next to him on the edge of the bed. "That picture was taken by you, Sam. I believe in you and I want to see what you've caught." He paused for a moment and his fingers turned white as he held the camera tightly. His face stayed red and the tips of his ears lit up red. But after a short pause, he let out a deep breath, nodded and unwillingly gave me the camera. His eyes were fixed on the floor as he said, "I didn't mean to make this awkward. I just wanted to be sure I did everything right." I carefully picked up the camera, turned it on and looked through the pictures. Each picture was beautiful in its own way. He caught me in a light I didn't quite recognize. A mix of beauty, power, and softness that seemed almost alien. In some photos, I was laughing so hard that my head was thrown back in real happiness. In others, I was more serious and controlled, and the red light made every detail stand out. "Sam," I said, my voice shaking as I looked at the pictures. "These are really cool." He finally looked up and his face showed a mix of worry and hope. "Do you really believe that?" I looked him in the eyes and nodded. "Sam, you're so talented. That's how you see the world and how you see me. I have no words for it." He bit his lip in a shy smile and the tightness in his shoulders went away a little. He said in a soft voice, "I just wanted you to see how amazing you are. I want to thank you for all the things you've done for me, Mom." I put down the camera and gently squeezed his hand. "Sam, you've already given me a lot. How much more do you know?" We sat there in quiet for a moment, our feelings heavy but comfortable, even though we didn't say them. He still had red cheeks when I looked at him, but his face showed that he was vulnerable, which showed how much he had grown. I lightly teased, "You're blushing," to try to ease the stress. He gave a soft laugh and ran his hand through his hair. "I just didn't think you'd walk in while I was looking at them," he said with a smug grin. As I gave him back the camera, I told him, "Don't feel embarrassed. That which you made is lovely and I'm so proud of you." He touched my fingers with his as he took the camera and held it close to his chest. He told her, "Thanks, Mom," in a soft but moving voice. "Thank you very much." Just like he did the night before, I leaned in close and kissed him on the cheek. His skin felt warm and he smiled with eyes that sparkled with thanks. I told Sam as I stood there, "You have a great talent. Don't let anyone ever change your mind." When I left his room, I shut the door slowly. As I thought about the moment, a wave of happiness and love came over me.